Hello my dear students, in this video we are going to continue lesson 4 India in the 18th century. In the first video we discussed about the causes of decline of the Mughal Empire, then breaking up of the empire. So once again I will revise the introduction part. Okay. In the first introduction part we discussed about the greater Mughals and the later Mughals. The Mughal Empire, it flourished, it developed under the time of the great Mughals. The first to whom was Babur and the last strongest ruler was Aurangzeb. After Aurangzeb, many rulers were there, but they were very weak. Example, Bahadur Shah first, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Shah and Muhammad Shah. They were the successor of Aurangzeb, but they were very weak rulers. So we can say that Aurangzeb was the strongest ruler. Last strongest ruler in the Mughal Empire. Aurangzeb, he died in 1707. After the death of Aurangzeb, the empire started to decline. So many foreigners, they came to India and they captured, they plundered the wealth of India. Especially in the mid 18th century, the Marathas and the English East India Company were the chief contenders of political supremacy in India. And at the end of the 18th century, the British, they captured or they emerged victorious and brought large parts of India under their control. Okay, and the causes, we discussed 3-4 causes. First cause was Aurangzeb's unwise policy. Aurangzeb reversed Akbar's policy of diplomacy and religious tolerance. That was the main reason for the decline of the Mughal Empire. At the time of Akbar, he abolished many taxes that was paid by non-Muslims. But at the time of Aurangzeb, he introduced or he reimposed the jizya and permitted the destruction of temples. Jizya means it is a kind of tax. Next we discussed about the role of the nobles. After Aurangzeb's death, the strongest was the rulers were very weak, so the nobles become more powerful, and the Iranians of Persia and Hindustanis of India assumed the role of kingmakers, and they made conspiracies against the king, the race, and the frequent changes of rulers caused political instability, and the empire or the provinces break away and also attracted foreign invasions. Next we discussed about the role of the later Mughals. I told you that about the great Mughals and the later Mughals. Aurangzeb's successors are called later Mughals, and they were very weak rulers. Under them, the Mughal Empire broke up, and the Mughal rule immediately, or so the Mughal rule ultimately ended in 1857. Okay, and next we discussed about breaking up of the empire during Muhammad Shah's reign. Muhammad Shah, he was the successor of Aurangzeb. At the time of Muhammad Shah's reign, the nobles, some ambitious nobles, they made their own states, and these states was not under the control of Mughals. They were free from Mughal control. And what was the specialty of these states? These states were economically and culturally prosperous and had strong armies also. Anyway, they failed to unite against invaders. Here I am going to tell you about some states that formed by the noble. First we discussed about Bengal. Bengal was made or Bengal was under the control of the governor of Murshid Qali Khan, who had been made the governor of Bengal in 1717, and he became almost independent from Mughal Empire. He and his successors reorganized the administration of Bengal and promoted agriculture and trade. Under Murshid Qali Khan, Bengal became prosperous, Bengal developed, and they give more importance for agriculture and trade. Next state was Awadh. The state of Awadh became more or less independent under Sadat Khan, who became the governor around 1724. Sadat Khan and his successors introduced many administrative reforms. and a new form of architecture based on the Mughal style developed in his time, which is the best represented in the Imambara at Lucknow. Awadh, it was under the control of Sadat Khan, and Awadh became more or less independent state. And who was the governor of Awadh? Sadat Khan. Okay, and next state was Hyderabad. Hyderabad, it was under the control of Chin Kilij Khan, and he became virtually an independent ruler and established the state of Hyderabad. He crushed the rebellious chiefs, and the states of Hyderabad progressed under his administration. Next state we discussed about Jaipur. The Rajput state of Amber rose to prominence under Shawai Raja Jai Singh, and Jai Singh founded the city of Jaipur and made it a center of art and scientific learning. Shawai Raja Jai Singh, he founded the city of Jaipur and it made a center of art and scientific learning. And he was interested in astronomy and built observatories at Delhi, Jaipur, Ujjain, Varanasi and Mathura. Okay, next state we discussed about Bharatpur and Rohilkhand. The Jats of the regions around Delhi, Agra and Mathura established the state of Bharatpur, while Rohilla Afghans formed the state of Rohilkhand, covering the territories of Moradabad, Bijnor and Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, this was the main state. These states, it was under the control of nobles. Nobles was the rulers of these state or these areas. It was under the control of these nobles. And here in this chapter we are going to, in this video we are going to study about another topic, that is foreign invasion. Up to here we have covered in the first video. Okay, if you have any doubt about anything, you just watch the first video, and here we are going to discuss about foreign invasions. Foreign invasions. I told you the later Mughals, they were very weak rulers. They were very weak sultans. So, taking the advantages of the unstable political situation in India, many foreigners they came to India, and many invaders they came to India. They plundered the wealth of India, especially Nadir Shah. He came to India, he carried away enormous wealth, including the Kohinoor diamond and Shah Jahan's jewel-studded peacock throne. And Nadir Shah's invasion exposed the weakness of the Mughals. After this invasion, the Marathas expanded northwards and threatened the Mughal authority. Nadir Shah came to India and plundered the wealth of India, especially the Kohinoor diamond and Shah Jahan's jewel-studded peacock. After the invasion of Nadir Shah, the Marathas they captured northwards and threatened the Mughal authority. After the invasion of Nadir Shah, one more Afghan ruler who came to India, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali. He invaded many times, several times, and Ahmad Shah Abdali inflicted a crushing defeat on the Marathas in the third battle of Panipat. On those days Marathas were the strongest rulers, but at the time of Ahmad Shah Abdali, when he came to India, he plundered the wealth of India. At the same time, Ahmad Shah Abdali inflicted a crushing defeat to the Marathas in the third battle of Panipat. This destroyed the possibility of the Marathas replacing the Mughals as the supreme power in India. Okay, and next we are going to study about Marathas. Okay, Shivaji, he united Marathas politically. Shivaji united Marathas politically. Under him, the Marathas put up a strong resistance and against Mughal expansion in the Delhi, on the Deccan. And Shivaji died in 1680. Shivaji united the Marathas politically, and later he died in 1680. In 1689, the Mughals under Aurangzeb defeated and killed Shivaji's son Shambhaji. Okay, the Mughals under Aurangzeb defeated and killed Shivaji's son Shambhaji, and they also captured Shambhaji's infant son Sahu. Okay, but at the time of Bahadur Shah I, who was the successor of Aurangzeb, he released Sahu. So this incident resulted a civil war over the Marathas throne between Sahu and Shivaji III. Sahu, he was the more powerful with the help of Balaji Vishwanath. He was a revenue officer. And while Sahu established the capital at Satara, Shivaji had established capital at Kolhapur. Sahu, he established his capital at Satara, and Shivaji III, he also established the capital at Kolhapur. And constant warfare between Satara and Kolhapur kept Sahu totally preoccupied, and he grew increasingly dependent on Balaji Vishwanath, whom he made his Peshwa. Balaji Vishwanath was the Peshwa or chief minister, and gradually the Peshwa became the real ruler of the Marathas. Actually, the king, he depended his chief minister. Slowly, the chief minister become, or the Peshwa become the real ruler of Marathas. Okay, and Balaji Vishwanath got the Mughal emperor to recognize Sahu and the rightful ruler of the Marathas. In return, the Mughals were promised a tribute to military support in the Deccan. Okay, Balaji Vishwanath, he divided the Maratha territories among chiefs who were given the task of collecting revenue. The chiefs were allowed to keep a part of the collection to meet their expenses, and Bajirao first succeeded his father Balaji Vishwanath. After the death of Balaji Vishwanath, Bajirao first became the next ruler. Through a treaty, he made peace and Marathas of Satara and those of Kolhapur, and the Maratha kingdom expanded under Balajirao first. However, this expansion was mainly carried out by the personal armies of the Maratha chiefs and not by the Peshwa's troops. So, what happened in the time of Marathas? Who united Marathas politically? Shivaji, he united Marathas politically. Under Shivaji, the Marathas put up strong resistance against Mughal expansion in Delhi. Shivaji died in 1680. But in 1689, Mughals, they were defeated and killed Shivaji's son Shambhaji and captured Shambhaji's infant son Sahu. But at the time of Bahadur Shah, who was the successor of Aurangzeb, he released Sahu, and this incident resulted in the civil war between Sahu and Shivaji III. Okay. And next we discussed about Balaji Vishwanath. He got the Mughal emperor to recognize Sahu as the rightful ruler of the Marathas. After the death of Balaji Vishwanath, his son Bajirao first became the next ruler. Okay, this much is enough for today. Up to here, all of you read. It is very easy to understand. So again, all of you read. If you have any doubt about this topic, you can ask through the comments. Okay.